Okay, I thought I'd take a moment to show the difference between the previous playtest that I had, which actually had quite a few errors in it, or quite a few crashes, as opposed to this one. So, to start out with, let me take a look at the load orders that I've been using over the course of, let's say, 6 months. This one here is the most current. That's what you see over here in the session times. This is the one that I used previously. You can see how many times I've played it, and the stability, which is kind of like the crashes divided by a number of times played or something similar to that. So let's go over here and take a look at the load order history, which is kind of like what this is. It's the basically the session history. All right, so let's bring it up. Now this is for the one that I played 262 times, and you can literally see all the different crashes. I've included some notes in the session information to show what the buff out, the actual buff out log was telling me, as opposed to having to, let's say, go into every one of these and bring out the bring up the buff out information. So we'll kind of go through some of it, and I'll just kind of try to write some of it off as maybe cause and effect. So basically, what I need to know is what I did during these game sessions. And one of the things I did was I installed mods, which I understand how it can change indexes, and that can mess up the scripting, the frames, and cause frames to be removed. And I had a few desyncs, a couple of Papyrus desyncs in the process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay any type of installations I did based on the game session to see what it was that I did that may have fixed some of the problems. So you can kind of see where I think some of these, especially these addresses, popped up quite a bit. Where it was like kernel base 140. I think there was a kernel base 120. I believe some of these are related to precombines and previs, because some areas before I actually installed PRP or got it to work or even started a new game, some areas were a total mess. Like, it was a total mess. But one of the things that I've noticed, some of the last things that I actually installed, was a unique creature standalone. I have unique creatures actually in the load order. Let's see. Yeah, see, I've got it over here. Let's see if I can find another one. Yeah, okay, here we go. So, see, you can actually see where I have unique creatures in there, but it had a lot of garbage in it and some bad records. So some mod authors had already addressed it. I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to throw it in the game and see what happens. Now, some of these are updates. Like, you can see where I updated Workshop Framework. You can probably go in and take a look at the location to see exactly what it was that was updated. If you actually want to look at the specific files. So this was the previous game. There were some bug fixes. I know there's some bug fixes here. They broke that out from the unique creatures as like an add-on ESP. But there really wasn't much. I mean, you had some textures, some icons, things like that. These were replacements for areas. The mod author actually had made some updates to his mods, and I would have included these. Now, it can change a lot of things, a lot of references. I went back and rebuilt the bash patch and even rebuilt the complex sorter patch, which has a ton of stuff in it. Like, it's got, let's see here, you can actually see all of the things that was added to it as like masters. So that's some of the things I changed. So let's if we're going to go into this game here, this is the current one I'm playing, so we're going to bring this up. And if you actually do the same kind of overlay, you can see that I haven't really added. This is the very first game session, so all of these were like basically from a you know, it's like it's in this manifest of things that were done. That's the changes and stuff that was made. But you can take a look and see that textures and some textures could cause a problem if they're improperly in a improper format or a bad format. But I never had anything like create texture 2D problem or anything in Buffout. Of course, now this is an ESP replacer, and you might think that this would be associated with this because it came after, but again, it was just moving the objects. These change the little animated icons you would see in your Pip-Boy. So they're basically like they're just Swift files, which to me is kind of like it's basically like an animated GIF, which with embedded code is basically what it looks like to me. So there really isn't much that I've added here that would cause the issue. So that's kind of like how I looked at debugging it. So you can actually see what potentially I had in my load order previously. Let's go back over to here. Alright, so let's go here. And then you can see what was in there previously and what I might have added that could have helped improve that. You can actually see PRP here. So let's do so I know there was one user was talking about the previs and pre-combines, and I added it. Let's see here. We added it right here. So it was around this time we added it. And I still had a problem in one area. I think I was trying to get to Crew Manor. I had like a freeze prior to that. And let's see, where do I have it over here? So this is where I've got it in the load order. It's pretty low in the load order, but it's not all the way at the bottom. And it does have the little patches for pre-combines for some of the other mods that I'm using. But I can now go to Crew Manor, and that was on this playthrough, which was the previous one here. After I did that and got to a certain point, I could get to Crew Manor without the thing locking up. And it's weird because it literally would lock up. It wouldn't crash. Well, I mean, it's a crash, but it was more of like a freeze, and I have no idea what part of the code got botched. But it, and even if you look in that area, if you got close to it to look where it would generate previs and pre-combines, it would lock up. So I got to where I do not have that problem. I did have a couple. Let's see here. Let's see if we can do it this way. That's not what I'm looking for. All right, let's go down to here. Let's see. Yeah, not that. Okay, so I was looking for an instance where there was a buffer overflow. Let's see if I can find it. So I did have a couple of these, and I'm not really sure. Here you go. Here, this right here. So this would be like a buffer overflow that popped up. I'm not really sure what. It doesn't really give you any more information as to what caused it. So it could have been the fact that when I rebuilt the bash patch, it somehow had a recursive call back to a list or come from a frame, and basically had to kill itself in order to execute that frame and remove it. I'm not really sure exactly what the code is, but so yeah, so this is where we're at now, and I'm hoping that this will be an absolute stable playthrough. And thanks for the information on some of the things it calls to, like a scrap crash. So I'm gonna kind of avoid connecting wires and moving things like that. That was kind of interesting. So the only thing I could figure is somehow when you move an object, it's doing some kind of recalculation. You know, it's where it recombines the meshes or tries to change a mesh to something, and somehow just constantly pressing, let's say like a keyboard, like a keypad down arrow, which I think is mapped to 4. Um, Doing that a lot somehow caught it in an interim state, and that's probably what caused a loose file stream. Somehow it was either open or referenced something wrong. I'm not really sure what he means by loose file stream, other than loose meaning it's missing or reference changed. I mean, to me, loose means it's just data that's left over and not released or freed back into system memory. So I'm not really positive what that means or what he's referring to. Um, but so the only thing like as far as like to conclude this particular video, I think that the few mods I added towards the end, like Unique NPC, where he removed a lot of the garbage and fixed some of the records, and I think there was another one here that had I'm trying to think. That was one I want to do. I think there was one I added here that basically changed something. I thought it changed. I was thinking it changed. Let's see. One of these actually changed. It removes some ITMs, but I don't remember which one this was. I'm trying to think right off the bat. I'm not really sure. But one of them actually removed an ITM from one of the mods I was using. I don't know if I can do it this way or not. Let's see. Let's go down to the end here real quick. Let's see. I know it wasn't the sewers. I don't think it was mutilated dead bodies. Yeah, I don't know right off the bat what it would have been. So that may have caused a problem because it may have interfered with other mods depending on where that mod fell in the load order and which record it was resetting back to the original data. Xedit would show me, but I'm kind of doing like a bunch of things at one time, so it's kind of hard to kind of keep track of everything and actually spend a lot of time on any one particular thing. Oh, I do want to note that where I actually had said that everything was clear, that was actually my fault because I noticed when I was looking at this data, I'm like, okay, we do have some errors and we do have some warnings. Now we have nothing, and this is highly unusual for any playthrough at all, given the fact that a lot of those are just warnings or way to easily catch data that is not good, like let's say a null value. And so what it was, this was a refactoring problem because I'm going back in trying to refactor code, and there's a lot of code. So I went ahead and fixed that, so you can kind of see what things might be. If you take a look at the actual log detail for that particular window of time, the only thing I've noticed is like you see a lot of pan PC stuff, but I'll occasionally get some workshop framework things. I'm gonna highlight these real quick. I don't really know what that is. Like I say, it doesn't really seem to cause a problem because it's not really under the crashes. And from what I understand, a lot of these can be warnings. Let's go over to here and try. Let's see what this does. So yeah, some of this is like seen as playing, but a lot of this seems to be just like a particular script that's being called by like this. So not really sure what this is. Probably nothing. But just want to pass that on to you guys to see what you think. I'm going to go ahead and get another test going here and see how it turns out. And I'll post back here in a bit.